Hi everyone. In this video, I will talk about data structure in R. So in R, there are many different data structures. For example, vector, which is 1D data, and more than, general than vector, we have matrix, which is 2D data. For example, you have data with number of rows and columns, you can use metric. And array, which is more general than metric, it can store n dimension data. But vector, metric, and array can only store one data types. For example, if you want to store integer and character, you cannot use vector, metric, or array because these are only used to store one data types. But with data frame, which is 2D data, you can store character in one column and the other column you can store numeric values. The most general data structure, I think it can store vector, metric, array, data frame, and also factor. Factor is a special type of data. I will introduce it when we open RStudio. And now let's open RStudio and give some example of different data structure to have a better understand of it. Create new script. This is the example of data structure. So first thing is vector. Let's say your vector is my vector. C from 1 to 100. Control Enter. So this is your vector. Value from 1 to 100. If you want to access the first value, here, 1. The second value, if you want to access the second value to the fifth value, Control Enter here. And now, more general than vector, we have metric. Let's say my metric. You have metric and data 1 to 100 and number row. Let's say 5 row. And you want to fill this by row. True. Control Enter. And so you can click here, my metric, and you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and 10, 20 columns. And you fill by row, first value 1 to 20, in the second row 21, and so on. Can close it. And if you want to access, let's double click here and see in here. And if you want to access the first values of the first row, let's say my metric value of first row. So here the first row own value, Control Enter. So this is own values of the first row or own values of the first column. Here 1, 21, 41, so on. Or value at specific row and column. For example, of row number 3 and column number 2. Control Enter. Row number 3, column number 2, 40. Column number 3, 43 here. And now more general than metric, we have array. Let's say my array. Let's fill it with data from 1 to 100. And dimension of your array is C, 5 row, 10 column, and 2 third dimension. So let's click here, Control Enter. So your array is from filled with value from 1 to 100. And dimension is number of row is 5 row here. And 10 column, and you have two metric with this dimension. So now you can access any value. My array, for example, 5, 10. Yeah. So here, 50, 100 at row 5 and column 10, 50 and 100. Sorry, if you want to access all values of the first metric, you should have this empty one. So you will know all value of the first metric, which has a dimension of 5 and 10. Control Enter. Or if you want to know value of the second metric, here to Control Enter. Or if you want to know value at specific location, at row, let's say 5, the same as about 10, and the second value, which is 100, Control Enter. Yes, 100. And now we have a data frame. Data frame. Let's create my data frame. Let's say the data frame A with a data frame with two columns. Let's say the first column equal to is with the name A with the value from 1 to 5. And the second column with the name B contains value of, let's say also 5 value, let's say A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, E, 5 values. Okay. And Control Enter. And if you click here, Control Enter, and you see your data frame has two columns with the name A and B and 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you want to access any value, it's similar with metric. For example, my data frame of the second row of the second column. So we should be B. Yeah, B, or of the first column should be 2. And if I, this is numeric, if I plus with 2, it should be 4, right? But if you say here the second value plus 2 is not possible because this is character. Here you see non-numeric argument. Yeah. So it means that our data frame stores two different data types. One is numeric, which is in column A, and the second is character, which is column B. This is why it cannot be done. Just know here, non-numeric. Yeah. And the last thing is list factor. For example, here, factor. For example, if you want to create a month, here, let's say C or January, February, March. Control Enter. So if you use character vector to store month, and then there will be a problem. For example, if you sort the month in here, so January does not appear first, but instead February. So in this case, we can use factor to work with category or variable, the variable that have a fixed and no set of possible value. For example, the months in here. And we can create, first to create a factor, we need to create the level. For example, month levels should be C, January, February, March, and April, and May, so on. So I just create this, and then I create my factor is my factor for example, month, which here month here, and I want to have the level like this, level, sorry, level, month, level. Control Enter. So now we have the factor variable. So it will sort from January, February, March in here, and it will sort this my factor. Here it will sort by the levels that we want. And in for plotting, this is important. For example, if you want to plot your result according to a certain level, according to certain order, you can use factor in here. I think this will be better understanding when you learn ggplot2 package. There's also another thing in list. For example, my list basically can store anything. My list, let's say list. So I just create an empty list, and I want to add something to my list. For example, let's say I want to add vector, my vector. Go to my vector, and I want to add another. I want to add a data frame to my list. My data frame. Let's take this. Control Enter. So here you see that my list contain vector and also contain data frame, and if you want it, you can also add my factor to it. For example, I take this, Control Enter, and now if you want to see it, click here and Control Enter. You see it contains different data structure, for example, vector, data frame, and my factor. And if you want to access the value of my vector, you can use the same as in here. For example, 225 value 225. Here you can will see, and so on, similar for data frame and my factor. So this is, I think, the basic thing that we should know about data structure in R. Thanks for your interest, and now let's move to another video.